Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn with a Librarian. This session is Behind the Login, How Library eResource Access Works. And thank you for taking time to be here today. My name is Jackie Mays, and I will be moderating today's session. Shannon Buchek will be presenting. So before we start, I have a few things to mention. If you have any questions, please place them in the chat box. The chat box can be accessed by clicking the chat button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We will be running a live question and answer session after the presentation, and questions will be answered at that time. As we go along, I will post any relevant links in the chat, so be on the lookout for those. And lastly, the slides. We will email the recording and the slides from the presentation to you after the webinar. So with all that said, thank you for attending, and I'd like to introduce today's speaker, who is Shannon Buchek, our Resource Management Librarian at the Cleveland Health Sciences Library. So Shannon will be speaking to us about access to library eResources. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As Jackie said, my name is Shannon, and I am a librarian at the Health Sciences Library. Right now my camera's on, but I'm going to shut it off because everything got switched around when I went to presenter mode. So I just want to show I'm a real person and I'm here. And okay. Today, like Jackie said, we're going to be talking about logins, how library access works, and what to do when it doesn't. So these are the objectives. Today I'm going to discuss a couple reasons why your login fails, how the current configuration is set up for library access. It's just for reference, so maybe it'll help you piece things together. You don't have to remember any of it. And then the last thing is just best practices to avoid error messages in the future. Before I get started, I just wanted to say this is a complicated topic that cannot be fully covered in 15 minutes. Case Western subscribes to thousands of resources on hundreds of different platforms, and the library uses a third-party authentication system called OpenAthens. OpenAthens talks to the Case Western single sign-on so that all Case Western users can access subscribed content on all of those hundreds of different platforms. We're going to talk about OpenAthens in a moment, but for now, I just wanted to note that there are several different automated systems talking to each other. You have the SSO, OpenAthens, the publishers have their own system. The library catalog is a completely different system. So there is bound to be some linking and login issues. But spoiler, the answer to most login issues is to just clear your browser cache by using a private browser or manually deleting your cookies, cache, browsing history, etc. And again, more about this in a couple of slides. What causes login failures? The biggest one is the timing out of your last browser session. And another reason is because there's incorrect linking back to the single sign-on from the publisher site. Also, your affiliation may also be causing the failure. And I'm going to quickly go through all of these in the next couple of slides. So, website cookies. Websites use cookies to recognize returning users. Very useful for online retailers who save your shopping cart, but not ideal for publishers who are very protective of their subscribed content. Publishers protect their content by setting these timeout cookies, which can block access and then force you to re-log in. So what's the solution? Starting a new session in a private browser, or you can manually delete your cookies, cache, and browsing history. I personally find using a private browser to be quicker than always manually deleting my history and cookies and cache. So this screen is just here as an FYI. If you're not sure how to open a private browser, here is a snapshot of the most popular ones. I show this only just to show that each browser calls it something different. So Chrome calls it incognito, Firefox calls it a private window, Edge calls it in private. They all do the same thing. It isn't just publishers that use these session timeouts and require you to re-log in. Over the past week, there were two different Case Western posts. One was from the finance reporting website was updated. Right here is a snapshot of the SIS was updated this week. And UTech is telling us that you'll need to either use a private browser or manually clear out your cookies and cache. So I just bring this up to show that security is important, not just to publishers, but also to Case Western and to the library. Okay, the second reason. Another common reason for login problems is that the publisher website doesn't correctly recognize that you are part of Case Western. As I said before, the libraries use a third-party authenticator called OpenAthens, and OpenAthens talks to the single sign-on. All this means is that your single sign-on grants you access, it's your password for logging in to all the different platforms. So you don't need a separate login for Wiley or Springer Nature or Clinical Key. You just use your CrewNet ID to access all of the different platforms. Unfortunately, sometimes the publisher sites don't receive or recognize the authentication. This can happen if the publisher settings have changed or weren't configured correctly, which can prevent access even when your login is valid. So the solution, start at the library homepage, as we have Athenized most of the links throughout our website. And all that means is that we just pre-configured the link to route through the correct OpenAthens path. Lastly, another reason for failure is your affiliation role. And I just want to throw in a quick note that the term affiliation can have multiple meanings on campus. In this context, your SSO affiliation is what approves or denies access through OpenAthens. The SSO is managed by Identity Management, which is a department within UTech. And they have set up their system to automatically talk to the SIS, the FIS, HCM, etc. Not important to remember any of it, but it's just to shed some light on the current configuration and why you might get an error message. Again, you don't have to memorize this. This is just for reference. These are the affiliation roles currently on campus. And each one of us has 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 of these different roles. I personally have 3. I'm an employee, a staff, and a member. Not all of them grant access through OpenAthens. The ones on the left grant access, and the ones on the right do not. So a common follow-up question to that is, well, why not? Why don't all the affiliations grant access? Without getting too technical, UTech uses an international standard and protocol called SAML, and this standard allows the SSO to talk to third-party systems like OpenAthens. It isn't always clear if the affiliation role is granted access or not, if it's due to the limitations of the SAML standard, or if this was a local decision made by UTech. Regardless, this is the current setup, and UTech ultimately determines which affiliations are allowed to grant access through OpenAthens. All that to say, this is a rare problem. Most people never even have to know what their status is. But if you feel like your status is incorrect, give us an email and we will get you to the right department. We can't change your status. We can't change anything in your account. But we can find you the right department to contact. And if you sponsor affiliates, then you're probably familiar with this affiliation form. I'm just throwing it in here as a tip. In this affiliation form, they give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 affiliations to choose from in the dropdown, and only affiliate grants actual access. So in the future, save yourself a headache and choose affiliate as the status. Okay, moving pretty quick. To quickly recap, here are the best practices and takeaways. Clear out your cache by using a private browser or manually deleting your history. Also, start at the library website, as most of the links on our website have already been Athenized. And a reminder, if you do sponsor affiliates, pick the affiliate affiliation. And as always, if there's any questions or anything, you can contact us at askchsl@case.edu. So before I open it up to your questions, I wanted to go over some common questions. What about VPN? VPN is not recommended by both the library and UTech because it might interfere with OpenAthens, and it is unsecure and unstable. That being said, there are a small handful of publishers that do not have the ability to work with OpenAthens. For those resources, we have a VPN-only guide on our website, and it's linked here. And another common question is, what about PubMed? Can you Athenize links in PubMed like we do on the library website? And unfortunately, no. If you look for the full text finder button on PubMed, that will link you back to the catalog. We also have set up LibKey Nomad to work with PubMed. I'm not going to go into it much here, but because we already had a lunch and learn in October, and I linked that lunch and learn in here. Okay, I feel like that was a lot of information. I didn't want to overwhelm everyone. I hope this helps unmask how the current system works and what you can do if you're having issues, login failures. As always, you can, like I said, you can contact askchsl@case.edu, or you can email me directly at skb41.